안녕하세요. 안차키입니다. Now, in our last lesson, we learned how to form the present tense with verbs. Let's get a quick review now. 지승현 선생님, 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. 지승현입니다. When you add io to the verb stem, it becomes a present tense. Do you remember? So the present tense of 만나다 would be 만나요. And the present tense of 보다 would be 봐요.
Now, we've also learned about the word order for objects and verbs. Now, we mentioned that in Korean, the word order is different from English. So, in Korean, the object comes before the verb. So, if you want to say something like, you're meeting a friend, you have to say the expression is 친구 만나요. Now, let's go over what we'll learn in this lesson by going to the video.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. 안녕하세요.
뭐 해요?
책 읽어요.
마이클 씨. 뭐 해요?
음악 들어요. 수지 씨, 오늘 뭐 해요?
책 읽어요.
Following up on our previous lesson, we are going to learn how to ask and answer questions about what someone is doing. Now, Minuk says he's reading a book and Michael says he's listening to music. Now, let's get a check of what we'll be learning in this lesson. We're going to practice adding 어요 to the verb stem to form the present tense. And in a continuation from our last lesson, we're going to practice placing our objects and verbs in the right order. Let's begin by repeating some verbs after 선생님. 먹다, 먹다. 읽다, 읽다. 주다, 주다. 듣다, 듣다. Now let's take a look at the video clip and see how these verbs are used in the conversations.
책 읽어요. 음악 들어요.
책 읽어요.
Now, the difference in the expressions that we learned from our previous lesson is that here they said 읽어요 and 들어요, right? So they added 어요 to the verb stems. Now, this time we're going to learn how to add 어요 to form the present tense. So, please, let's look at some examples. Let's add 어요 to some other verbs. All you have to do is add 어요 to turn it into present tense. 먹다, 먹어요. 읽다, 읽어요. 주다, 줘요. 듣다, 들어요. Okay, good. Let's find out more about the verbs that we've learned. You may have noticed the final vowel in the verb stem is o, u, or e. So if the last vowel sound in the verb stem is neither a nor o, then add 어요 to make the word a present tense verb. In the case of 먹다, the last vowel sound is 어. So you have to add 어요 to say 먹어요. The verb 읽다, to read, has the vowel sound 이. So you add 어요 to come up with 읽어요. Then what about words that end in a vowel sound like 주다? You would think that we can add 어요 since it ends in the vowel sound 우 to say 주어요. But this can be contracted to 줘요. Now let's repeat after 선생님.
먹어요. 먹어요. 읽어요. 읽어요. 줘요. 줘요. 들어요. 들어요.
You may have noticed another point while you were listening. Now, it was the expression 들어요. The infinitive of this verb to hear is 듣다, but it has changed in quite an unexpected way. Well, this is an irregular verb, so I'm afraid you'll just have to memorize it. Okay, let's try that again.
듣다. 들어요. 듣다. 들어요.
책 읽어요. 음악 들어요.
책 읽어요.
I've mentioned that the word order for objects and verbs is the opposite in Korean from English. Now, instead of saying the verb and then the object, in Korean you have to state the object and then the verb. Now, I'm eating bread and I'm reading a book. How would you say these expressions in Korean?
빵 먹어요. 빵 먹어요. 책 읽어요. 책 읽어요.
Now let's learn how to ask someone what he or she is doing. Now the expression is 뭐 해요? Let's get some practice by carrying on a little conversation. 뭐 해요?
빵 먹어요. 뭐 해요?
음악 들어요. 뭐 해요?
책 읽어요.
It's now time to learn something extra. Now, in the video clip, we saw Minuk asking Suji what she was doing. Now, do you remember what he said?
오늘 뭐 해요?
So, 오늘 means today, and 오늘 뭐 해요 is asking Suji what she is going to do today. Now, what about those of you at home? What are you doing today?
오늘 뭐 해요? 오늘 뭐 해요? 오늘 뭐 해요?
It's now time to go over what we have learned so far. Let's go to the video clip and go over the expressions one by one.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. 안녕하세요.
뭐 해요?
뭐 해요?
책 읽어요.
책 읽어요.
마이클 씨. 뭐 해요?
마이클 씨, 뭐 해요?
음악 들어요.
음악 들어요.
수지 씨, 오늘 뭐 해요?
수지 씨, 오늘 뭐 해요?
책 읽어요.
책 읽어요.
I hope that was some good practice for you. Let's go over the entire video clip once again so you can memorize those expressions.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. 안녕하세요.
뭐 해요?
책 읽어요.
마이클 씨. 뭐 해요?
음악 들어요. 수지 씨, 오늘 뭐 해요?
책 읽어요.
Now, it's the part of our lesson where we learn how to write and read Korean characters. Now, in this lesson, we're going to learn about the character 시옷. Let's begin by learning how to write it. Begin with a diagonal stroke from the top to the bottom, and adding a shorter stroke to the right around the middle of the first stroke.
시옷, 시옷, 시옷.
We're going to add the vowel sound a to 시옷 to make the letter 사. Now, please listen carefully to the 선생님's pronunciation and get yourself some practice.
사, 사, 사.
Let's learn some words with the character 시옷.
사자, 사자. 소, 소. 새, 새.
This time we learn how to form the present tense of a verb by adding 어요. Now, we also learned that the object in Korean comes before the verb. 선생님, what do you usually do when you have some free time?
책 읽어요. I really like to read the books.
Okay, that is great. Reading is a good way to learn, and so is watching Let's Speak Korean, right?
That's right.
Okay, now with that, we have to say goodbye for this edition, but we'll be back next time, so please join us then. 안녕히 계세요.